celebration in the lower house of the Argentine Congress after the passage of a controversial law. It calls for compulsory DNA testing of Argentines thought to have been born in clandestine detention centers when the country was ruled by a military junta in the 1970s and 80s. Thousands of opponents of the military junta disappeared back then. Many were women, and many gave birth in captivity. Their children were taken away, allegedly given to those loyal to the regime. Victoria Donda was one of those children. She's now one of the legislators pushing for the new law, which would make it easier for the police to gather DNA samples.
It was very difficult for me to go and take that DNA test that confirmed that the people I thought were my parents were not. My real parents were killed by a repressive state, and I think it is easier if the state is the one responsible for finding out who is who.
3 decades later, the mothers of the disappeared are still struggling to find their grandchildren. They have organized themselves and have already traced nearly 100 of the hundreds of babies thought to have been stolen. It is here, in a laboratory in Buenos Aires, where the genetic identities of family members of those killed in Argentina's dirty war are kept. Human rights groups say that this law is necessary in order to help those who have left their DNA samples in laboratories like this one to find their relatives. Many of them are getting old and some have died. But some people here tell us that it can bring more problems than solutions. Dr. Belén Cardoso is the coordinator of this genetic bank. She says the law is flawed and dangerous.
I
have had a child brought here by the police, and they asked me where to tie him so I could take a DNA sample by force. I saw many times how traumatizing something like this is. The law does not specify the minimum sample that can be taken.
Opposition lawmakers claim the government of Cristina Kirchner is pushing the law for more blatant political reasons. Ernestina Herrera de Noble. She's the owner of the Clarín Group, the most powerful media corporation in the country, and one of the Kirchner's sworn public enemies. She has 2 adoptive children who human rights groups claim may have been born to disappeared mothers, a claim she vehemently denies. Both of her children have refused to take a DNA test.
The government wants this law approved because it's a way of going after her. She could be sent to jail. Pushing a law like this for the wrong reasons is preventing the country from having a serious debate.
For some, approval of this law reopens Argentina's old wounds. And even though some human rights groups support it, others say they fear that it could end up hurting those it is supposed to protect.
Al Jazeera's Teresa is in Buenos Aires, and she joins us now to help explain the latest developments there. Teresa, what are we to make about the timing of this announcement, the fact that this law has now been passed?
Well, the government in a way is losing the majority in both chambers in December, and that's why they're pushing many of the projects they're interesting. One of them, and it's not been a hidden thing, a top priority is going after those who committed human rights abuses, and that's why they're pushing for this law. So the second reason is that many of the grandmothers who are still trying to find their loved ones are getting old, and many have died. So the government in a way is seeing as a way of retributing and doing justice in a way. Many of the human rights trials against those who committed human rights abuses are going very, very slow. So this would be a way of, in a way, allowing them to see justice done.
But the fact that so many will be forced to take these DNA tests will certainly raise questions, won't it, about the state of civil liberties and civil rights in Argentina today?
Well, that's correct. In a way, some people and those who oppose the law are saying that this is a way of defending human rights by violating them. What would happen to those children that do not want to take the test? How violent the situation would be for many. The fact of sending a group of police officers into a house and forcing a DNA sample out of a person is a way of violating a person's privacy. They're also saying that the law is not specific enough about how far they can go. But in a way, the government is saying that a top priority for them is going after human rights abusers, and that's one of the reasons why so many children, in a way, are opposing this law, and they do not want to take a DNA sample. It's because they could see their adoptive parents go to jail.
How politically risky, though, is it, Teresa, for the government to have pushed this law? Do the majority of people in Argentina actually support it?
Well, of course, it depends who you ask. I mean, some people here are telling us that this is something that should have happened a long time ago, but that it should have had a big debate among society. It shouldn't have been forced. There's lots of that this is happening to actually go after one person, a sworn enemy of the government, Ernestina Herrera de Noble, the director of the Clarín Group, a very big media group here in the country. So many are saying that this, in a way, throws a shadow over something that should be about revising Argentina's past.
Teresa Bo in Buenos Aires, thanks very much for that, Teresa.